Jake Morrison stood in his kitchen, stirring a pot of soup on the stove. The smell of chicken and vegetables filled his small house. Outside, the sun was setting over the quiet streets of his neighborhood in Colorado. It had been 3 years since he came back home, and life was finally peaceful. He had told everyone he was on a classified military mission. That was the lie he agreed to tell. The truth was far stranger, and nobody would believe it anyway. Sometimes he still dreamed about those 2 years among the stars, but he tried not to think about it too much. It hurt too much to remember. The soup started to bubble. Jake turned down the heat and reached for a bowl. That was when the lights in his house flickered. Once, twice, then everything went dark. He looked out the window and saw that the entire street had lost power. Then the sky began to glow. Jake dropped the bowl. It shattered on the floor, but he did not notice. He walked to his back door like a man in a dream and stepped outside. Above his house, the clouds were moving in a strange circle. A bright blue light was pushing through them, growing stronger and stronger. His neighbor Amy ran out of her house, pointing up at the sky. "Jake, what is that?" He could not answer. He knew what it was. His heart was beating so fast, he thought it might burst. The light became a shape. A massive ship, bigger than 3 football fields, descended through the clouds. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The hull was made of something that looked like silver glass, and it glowed with soft blue light. Jake had seen this ship before. He knew every curve of it. Cars screeched to a stop on the street. People ran out of their houses, some screaming, some just staring. In the distance, Jake could hear sirens. The military would be here soon. The ship stopped about 100 feet above his house. It just floated there, silent and waiting. Then a beam of light shot down from the bottom of the ship and touched his backyard. Jake had to shield his eyes from the brightness. When the light faded, she was standing there. Queen Zaranith was just as beautiful as he remembered. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin that seemed to shimmer with a faint purple glow. Her eyes were large and golden, with vertical pupils like a cat. She wore flowing robes that moved even though there was no wind. And on her head was a crown made of some kind of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. She looked at him, and tears began to fall from her golden eyes. "Jake," she whispered, and her voice was like music. He wanted to run to her. He wanted to hold her and never let go. But his feet would not move. 3 years of trying to forget. 3 years of pretending none of it happened. All crashed down on him at once. "Zara," he said. His voice cracked. She walked toward him slowly. Behind her, more figures appeared in the light, her royal guards in their armor. But she paid them no attention. She only had eyes for Jake. Amy grabbed Jake's arm. "You know this thing. This alien. She's not a thing," Jake said quietly. "She's a person. And yes, I know her." Military helicopters roared overhead. Soldiers in full combat gear were already setting up a perimeter around his house. Someone was shouting through a megaphone, telling everyone to get back, to stay calm. Zaranith stopped a few feet away from Jake. She looked at him like she was afraid he might disappear. "I missed you so much, human," she said. "Let's go back." Those simple words broke something inside Jake. All the nights he had spent looking at the stars, wondering if he made the right choice. All the mornings he woke up reaching for someone who was not there. "Zara, I can't just leave," he said. "This is my home. My family is here." "Your family thinks you are a hero," she said. "They do not know what you really did out there. They do not know how many lives you saved, how many worlds you protected." A man in a general's uniform pushed through the crowd of soldiers. He had a phone pressed to his ear and anger on his face. "You, alien. You need to return to your ship immediately. This is a violation of our airspace, and..." Zaranith turned to look at him. She did not say anything. She just looked. The general stopped talking. One of her guards moved forward slightly, and the general took a step back. "I am Queen Zaranith of the Velkari Empire," she said, her voice carrying across the yard. "I have come for Jake Morrison. I mean no harm to your world, but I will not leave without him." "Ma'am, you can't just—" the general started. "3 years ago, this man saved my people from extinction," Zaranith said. "He gave up everything to help us. Then he left us because he thought it was the right thing to do. But I need him. My people need him." She turned back to Jake, and her voice became soft again. "The galaxy needs him." Jake felt the weight of everyone's eyes on him. His neighbors, the soldiers, Amy, and most of all, Zaranith. "What happened?" he asked. "What's wrong?" "The Devourers have returned," she said. "They are sweeping through the galaxy again. 12 worlds have already fallen. My military commanders say we cannot stop them. But I know better. I know that you can help us find a way." The general stepped forward again. More carefully this time. "Mr. Morrison, I'm going to need you to explain what the hell is going on here." Jake looked at Zaranith, at her golden eyes, full of hope and pain, at the ship hovering above them, a reminder of a life he thought he had left behind. "General," Jake said slowly, "I think you better call the president. This is going to take a while to explain." Zaranith smiled, and for a moment, everything else faded away. It was just the two of them, like it used to be. "I never stopped thinking about you," Jake said quietly, so only she could hear. "I know," she whispered back. "I felt it across the stars. That is how I knew you still cared. That is why I came. I won. One Quality 8 team." More helicopters arrived. News vans were pulling up at the end of the street. Jake's quiet life was over, and he knew it. But looking at Zaranith, at the hope in her eyes, he realized that maybe it was supposed to end this way. Maybe some things were too important to hide from. "Tell me everything," Jake said. "Tell me what's really happening out there. Tell me what's really happening out there." Zaranith reached out and took his hand. Her skin was warm and slightly rough, like touching smooth stone. Jake had forgotten how good it felt. "Come inside my ship," she said. "Let me show you." The general started to protest, but Jake held up his hand. "Give me 1 hour," Jake said. 1 hour to hear her out. Then I'll tell you everything. I promise." He looked around at his house, at his neighbors, at the life he had built. "Okay," he said to Zaranith. "Show me." Jake followed Zaranith into the beam of light. He felt a strange tingling as it lifted them up toward the ship. The sounds of the crowd below faded away. Within seconds, they were inside. The interior of the ship was exactly as Jake remembered. Smooth walls that glowed softly with blue light. Floors that looked like polished stone but felt warm under his feet. The air smelled clean, like after a rainstorm. 2 of Zaranith's guards bowed as they entered. Jake recognized them both. Kael and Sira, veterans who had fought beside him during the plague. "Commander Morrison," Kael said with respect. "It is good to see you again." Kael 7. "Commander Morrison." "I'm not a commander anymore," Jake said, but he smiled. "Just Jake now." "Once a commander, always a commander," Sira said. "Our people still tell stories about you." Zaranith led him through familiar corridors to her private chamber. It was a large room with windows that showed the stars. Jake remembered spending hours here, planning strategies, talking about their different worlds. "Sit," Zaranith said, gesturing to a chair. "Please." Jake sat down. The chair adjusted to his body automatically, something that had amazed him the first time he experienced it. Now, it just felt normal. "How did this all start?" Zaranith asked softly. "How did a simple human end up changing everything for us?" Jake leaned back and closed his eyes. The memories came flooding back. 5 years ago, He was a military contractor working on a new radar system in the desert. It was supposed to be a routine night. He was alone at the testing site when the sky lit up. At first, he thought it was lightning. Then he saw the shapes moving through the clouds. 2 ships were fighting. One was sleek and silver. The other looked like it was made of dark metal and sharp edges. Weapons fire lit up the night. Jake dove for cover as debris started falling from the sky. The silver ship was losing. Jake could tell by the way it moved, jerking and spinning. Then a piece of it broke off and came straight down. It crashed half a mile from where Jake was hiding. He should have run. That's what any sensible person would do. But Jake had never been good at doing the sensible thing. He grabbed his medical kit and ran toward the crash. The ship was torn open like a tin can. Inside, he found 3 aliens. They looked almost human, but their skin had that purple shimmer, and their eyes were golden. 2 of them were clearly dead. The third was badly hurt. It was a young Valkyrie soldier named Rin. He looked at Jake with fear and confusion. Jake did not know if the alien could understand him, but he spoke anyway. "I'm going to help you," he said. He used his medical training to stop the bleeding. He gave Rin water. He stayed with him even when he heard more ships landing nearby. When the Valkyrie rescue team found them 2 hours later, Rin was still alive because of Jake. That should have been the end of it. But the Valkyrie had rules about debts. Jake had saved one of their soldiers, so they owed him. Instead of letting him go, they took him back to their ship. They said it was for his protection, that the dark ships belonged to an enemy that would kill him if they found out he helped a Valkyrie. Jake ended up on their homeworld. At first, they kept him in comfortable rooms, but would not let him leave. He was a curiosity, the first human most of them had ever seen. They studied him, asked him endless questions about Earth and its people. Then the plague started. Nobody knew where it came from. One day, Valkyrie started getting sick. Their skin lost its shimmer. Their eyes dimmed. They became weak and died within days. The disease spread fast. Within 2 weeks, thousands were dead. Within a month, millions. The Valkyrie were desperate. Their best scientists could not find a cure. Their medical technology, far more advanced than Earth's, was useless against this disease. Jake was in his room when Zaranith came to see him. She was not the queen yet, just a princess. But Jake could see the weight on her shoulders. Her father, the king, had just died from the plague. "We are dying," she said simply. "Our people are disappearing. Soon, there will be no more Valkyrie." "Let me see your research," Jake said. "Let me look at what you've tried." "You are a human," she said. "What could you possibly—" "I was a field medic before I became a contractor," Jake interrupted. "I've seen diseases in war zones that would surprise you. Let me try. What do you have to lose?" She let him into their laboratories. Jake spent 3 days studying their data. The Valkyrie scientists were brilliant, but they were too advanced. They were looking for complex solutions, genetic treatments, nanotechnology cures. Jake saw something simpler. The plague attacked the Valkyrie immune system in a specific way. It was similar to diseases he had seen on Earth. Not the same, but close enough. He suggested something the Valkyrie scientists thought was primitive. A combination of natural compounds and simple chemical treatments. Things that humans had been using for centuries. The scientists laughed at him, but Zaranith did not laugh. She tested his treatment on herself. 3 days later, she was cured. The news spread across the Valkyrie worlds like wildfire. The human had done what their greatest minds could not. Within weeks, the plague was under control. Within months, it was gone. Jake became a hero. More than that, he became something the Valkyrie had never seen before. A symbol of what could be achieved by thinking differently. By not being limited by what you think you know. Zaranith's father had named her queen before he died. She was young for a ruler, barely 30 in Velkari years. The nobles did not respect her. But she had Jake at her side, and he helped her navigate the political dangers. He taught her things about leadership that humans had learned through thousands of years of history. He showed her how to inspire loyalty through action, not just words. He helped her turn the Velkari from a rigid, traditional society into something more flexible and strong. And somewhere along the way, they fell in love. It was not sudden. It grew slowly, through late nights of planning, through shared victories and defeats, through moments when they looked at each other and saw not a human and an alien, but two people who understood each other. Jake opened his eyes and found Zaranith watching him. "You're thinking about those days," she said. "Yeah," he admitted. "I think about them a lot." "Then why did you leave?" Her voice was soft, but he could hear the pain in it. "We could have had a life together. My people loved you. I loved you. My family thought I was dead," Jake said. "My sister Katie was destroying herself with grief. I saw a news report about her. She had given up everything looking for me. I couldn't let her suffer anymore." "So you suffered instead," Zaranith said. "It was the right thing to do. Was it?" She moved closer to him. "You returned to Earth, but you were not happy. I could feel it. The bond we share, it does not break just because we are apart. I felt your loneliness every day." Jake looked down at his hands. She was right. The past 3 years had been peaceful, but he had not been happy. He had felt like a piece of himself was missing. "I thought it would get easier," he said. "It never does," Zaranith said. "I tried to move on too. I focused on ruling my people, on making them strong. But every day, I looked at the stars and thought of you." She pulled up a holographic display. Images appeared in the air between them, dark shapes moving through space, worlds burning, people fleeing in terror. "The Devourers are real," she said. "They came from beyond the edge of our galaxy. They consume everything in their path. Resources, technology, life itself. 12 civilizations have fallen to them already." Jake studied the images. The Devourers looked like a swarm of insects, but each one was the size of a building. They moved in patterns that seemed chaotic, but were actually coordinated. "What have you tried?" he asked. "Everything," Zaranith said. "Our fleets engage them, but they adapt too quickly. We destroy 1,000, and 10,000 more appear. Our scientists try to find their weakness, but they have none that we can exploit. And you think I can help? I know you can," she said firmly. "You see things we do not. You think in ways we cannot. That is your gift, Jake. That is why the galaxy needs you." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Below, he could see his neighborhood. People were gathered in the streets, staring up at the ship. Military vehicles surrounded his house. His old life was down there, simple and safe. But up here was Zaranith. Up here was a galaxy in danger. Up here was where he was meant to be. Jake turned away from the window. He looked at Zaranith, at the hope in her golden eyes. "I need to talk to my government first," he said. "Earth needs to know what's coming. The Devourers are far from your world," Zaranith said. "You have time. For now," Jake said. "But if they're sweeping through the galaxy, eventually they'll reach us. Earth needs to be ready." Zaranith nodded slowly. "You always think of your people first. That is one of the things I love about you." They went back down to his backyard. The general was waiting, along with what looked like half the military. News helicopters circled overhead. Their cameras pointed at the ship. "Mr. Morrison," the general said. "I'm General Hayes. We need to talk. Now." "Yes, we do," Jake agreed. "But not here. This needs to go all the way to the president." It took 4 hours to arrange. Jake was taken to a military base while Zaranith waited in her ship. They would not let her leave, and she would not leave without Jake. so they were at a standoff. Finally, a video conference was set up. President Linda Grant appeared on a large screen, surrounded by advisors. She looked tired and worried. "Mr. Morrison," she said, "please explain what is happening." Jake told her everything. About being accidentally taken by the Valkyrie 5 years ago. About the plague and how he helped cure it. About becoming Zaranith's advisor and friend. About the Devourers and the threat they posed. When he finished, there was silence. "This is insane," one of the advisors said. "You expect us to believe you were living with aliens for 2 years? "I have proof," Jake said. He pulled out a small device that Zaranith had given him. It projected images into the air. Pictures of the Valkyrie worlds. Videos of Jake working with their scientists. Battle footage from wars he had helped them win. The room went silent again. "Why should we help them?" another advisor asked. "This isn't our fight. It will be," Jake said quietly. "The Devourers don't stop. They consume everything. Eventually, they'll reach Earth. We can either help stop them now, while we have allies, or face them alone later." President Grant leaned forward. "What are you asking from us?" "Let me go with Queen Zaranith," Jake said. "Let me help her fight the Devourers. In exchange, she'll give Earth access to Valkyrie technology, weapons, shields, ships. And what guarantee do we have that this alien queen will keep her word?" General Hayes asked. "My word," Jake said. "I trust her with my life. More than that, I trust her with Earth's future." The president looked at her advisors. They argued back and forth for 20 minutes. Finally, she held up her hand for silence. "I'll agree to this," she said. "But with conditions. You don't go alone. We send a team with you. Military advisors, scientists, observers. If Earth is going to be part of this fight, we need to learn everything we can." "That's fair," Jake said. "And Mr. Morrison," the president continued, "if this goes wrong, if you've misjudged this alien queen, the consequences will be severe." "I understand," Jake said. "But I'm not wrong about her." They let him go home that night, but with a military escort. His house was surrounded by soldiers. News vans lined the street. Jake's quiet life was truly over. Amy came by with dinner. She let herself in through the back door, avoiding the reporters out front. "You're really leaving again," she said. It was not a question. "Yeah," Jake admitted. "I knew something was different about you when you came back," Amy said. "You looked at the sky too much. Like you were homesick for somewhere that wasn't Earth." "I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth. I'm not mad," Amy said. "I'm just sad. You're a good neighbor, Jake. A good friend. We're going to miss you." "I'll come back," Jake promised. "When this is over, I'll come back." But even as he said it, he wondered if it was true. Could he really come back to this small life after everything? The next morning, Katie arrived. His younger sister burst through the front door and threw her arms around him. "You idiot," she shouted. "You're going to leave again. After everything, after I thought you were dead for 2 years, you're just going to go back up there?" "Katie, I have to," Jake said. "No, you don't." She was crying now. "Let someone else save the galaxy. You've done enough." Jake held her while she cried. She was 25 now, but she seemed younger. The 2 years he was gone had been hard on her. She had dropped out of college to search for him. She had spent her savings hiring investigators. She had almost destroyed herself with grief. "I'm sorry," Jake said. "I'm so sorry. But if I don't go, billions will die. Maybe more. Maybe Earth itself." Katie pulled back and looked at him. Her eyes were red from crying. "You love her, don't you?" she asked. "That alien queen." Jake did not answer right away. Then he nodded. "Yeah," he said. "I do." Katie wiped her eyes. "Is she good to you? Does she treat you right?" "She's amazing," Jake said. She's strong, and smart, and brave. And yes, she treats me right. Then go, Katie said. But Jake, you better come back to visit. I don't care if you live on an alien world. You better find a way to call me, to let me know you're okay. I will, Jake promised. I swear I will. 3 days later, Jake stood in his backyard again. Zaranith's ship was back, and this time there were military transports around it. The human team was ready to go. 30 people in all: soldiers, scientists, engineers, and doctors. Captain Ryan Brooks was in charge of the military side. He was a tough man in his 40s, with cold eyes and a suspicious nature. He did not trust Zaranith. I'll be watching you, he told Jake. If I think you're putting Earth at risk, I'll do what I have to do. Fair enough, Jake said. Just keep an open mind. Dr. Greg Walsh was the head scientist. He was young and excited, practically bouncing on his toes. This is incredible, he kept saying. We're actually going to space. Real space. Alien space. Lieutenant Sam Parker was a hotshot pilot who looked barely old enough to drink. She had been chosen because she had the fastest reflexes in the entire Air Force. So, she said to Jake, you and the alien queen, huh? That's pretty wild. Jake just smiled. He was learning that everyone had opinions about his relationship with Zaranith. The beam of light came down. The human team looked nervous as they stepped into it. Jake had forgotten how strange it felt the first time. But soon, they were all aboard the ship. Zaranith was waiting in the main hall. She looked at the humans with interest. Welcome aboard, she said in perfect English. I am honored to have Earth's warriors and thinkers with us. Some of the team looked awed. Others looked scared. Captain Brooks just looked suspicious. We need to establish some ground rules, he said. Of course, Zaranith agreed. But first, let us leave your planet. We will have plenty of time to discuss everything. The ship began to rise. Jake felt the familiar slight vibration as the engines powered up. He walked to a window and looked down at Earth. It was beautiful from up here, blue and white and green, floating in the darkness. Katie was down there somewhere, probably crying again. Amy was there, probably making dinner for one. His house stood empty, waiting for a return that might never come. But Jake did not feel sad. He felt right. This was where he belonged, among the stars, with Zaranith, fighting for something bigger than himself. The Earth grew smaller. The moon passed by. Soon they were beyond Mars, beyond Jupiter. The ship moved faster than anything humans had ever built. Within hours, they left the solar system behind. Zaranith stood beside Jake at the window. Are you ready? She asked. No, he said honestly. But that's never stopped me before. She took his hand. Her guards pretended not to notice. The human team was too busy staring at the stars to pay attention. Thank you for coming back, Zaranith said softly. I know what it cost you. You're worth it, Jake said. And so is this fight. They stood together, watching the stars stream by, heading toward a war that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The Velkari homeworld appeared on the ship's view screen after 7 days of travel. Jake had forgotten how beautiful it was. 2 moons hung in a purple sky. Cities made of crystal and light covered the surface. Forests glowed with bioluminescent trees. The human team pressed against the windows, staring. It's like a dream, Dr. Walsh whispered. It's real, Jake said. Very real. They landed in the capital city. Thousands of Velkari waited at the spaceport. When Jake stepped off the ship, they erupted in cheers. They chanted his name in their language. Some waved banners with his face on them. Captain Brooks looked at Jake with new respect. They really do love you. I helped them when they needed it most, Jake said. They don't forget things like that. Zaranith led them to the royal palace. It was a massive structure that seemed to be carved from a single piece of white stone. Inside, The walls were covered with murals, showing Valkyrie history. Jake saw new murals that had not been there before. They showed him curing the plague, him standing beside Zaranith, him teaching Valkyrie soldiers human tactics. "You made me into a legend," he said to Zaranith. "You made yourself into a legend," she replied. "I just made sure everyone knew about it." That evening, there was a feast. The human team sat at a long table with Valkyrie nobles and military commanders. The food was strange, but not bad. Dr. Walsh kept asking questions about everything. Lieutenant Parker flirted with a Valkyrie warrior who seemed confused but amused. Admiral Foresh, commander of the Valkyrie fleet, stood to speak. 3 years ago, we thought we lost Commander Morrison, he said. Today, he returns to us, and he brings new allies. The humans may be small, but if they are anything like Jake Morrison, they will be valuable friends. Captain Brooks stood up. We're here to learn and to help. Earth stands with the Valkyrie against this threat. After the feast, Jake met with Zaranith's war council. They showed him everything they knew about the Devourers. The enemy was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. They were part machine, part organic, and part something else entirely. They moved in swarms of millions. They adapted to every weapon used against them. They did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They only consumed. We have lost 12 worlds, Admiral Voresh said. Each time, we thought we could stop them. Each time, we failed. Jake studied the battle reports. The Valkyrie tactics were good, but they were too direct. They fought the Devourers head-on. Fleet against swarm. It was not working. You're fighting them the way you fight other civilized species, Jake said. But they're not civilized. They're more like a natural disaster. You need to think differently. What do you suggest? Zaranith asked. Jake thought back to his military training. To guerrilla tactics? To asymmetric warfare? To fighting when you were outnumbered and outgunned. We don't fight them in space, he said. Not directly. We use hit-and-run attacks. We strike fast and disappear. We make them chase us into traps. We use their numbers against them. The Devourers are too fast, Admiral Voresh argued. They will catch us. Not if we're smart about it, Jake said. Look at these patterns. The Devourers move in a specific formation. They protect their core units with millions of drones. But that means the core units are slow. If we can separate the drones from the core, we can destroy the things that control them. The Valkyrie commanders looked at each other. This was not how they were used to fighting. It might work, one of them said slowly. It will work, Jake said with confidence. But we need to practice. We need to train your forces in these new tactics. Over the next 2 weeks, Jake worked with the Valkyrie military. He taught them things that humans had learned through centuries of war. How to ambush. How to retreat without breaking formation. How to use terrain to their advantage, even in space. The human team helped. Lieutenant Parker showed Valkyrie pilots how to fly more aggressively. Captain Brooks taught infantry tactics. Dr. Walsh worked with Valkyrie scientists to develop new weapons. Jake barely slept. He spent his days training soldiers and his nights planning strategies with Zaranith. They fell back into their old rhythm easily. She would suggest something. He would build on it. Together they would create something better than either could alone. One night, after everyone else had gone to bed, they stood on a balcony overlooking the city. I forgot how good this feels, Jake said. Working with you. Being part of something important. I never forgot, Zaranith said. Every day you were gone, I remembered. It hurt, but I never forgot. Jake took her hand. I'm sorry I left. I understand why you did, she said. Family is important. That is something you taught me. But Jake, you are my family too. You are part of my heart. Before he could respond, alarms began to wail across the city. Admiral Voresh burst onto the balcony. They are here. The Devourers have reached the border worlds. Jake and Zaranith ran to the command center. Screens showed a Velkari colony world. The Devourers were swarming around it like locusts. Ships were trying to evacuate civilians, but they could not move fast enough. How long until the colony falls? Zaranith asked. 6 hours, Admiral Voresh said grimly. Maybe less. Then we go now, Jake said. We implement the new tactics. This is our chance to prove they work. But we have not finished training. The Admiral protested. We're out of time, Jake said. We use what we have. Zaranith looked at him. Then she nodded. Prepare the fleet. We leave in 1 hour. The human team scrambled to get ready. They had trained for this. But training was different from real combat. Lieutenant Parker was assigned to a Velkari fighter squadron. Stay close to your wingmen, Jake told her. And remember, you're faster than the Devourers. Use that. Yes, sir, she said. For once, she was not joking. Captain Brooks would coordinate ground forces if they needed to evacuate the colony. Dr. Walsh stayed behind to monitor everything and provide support. Jake went with Zaranith on her flagship. It was the largest ship in the fleet, bristling with weapons. But even it seemed small compared to what they were about to face. The journey to the border world took 3 hours at maximum speed. Jake stood on the command deck, watching the stars stream by. He had a bad feeling about this. When they arrived, the sight took his breath away. The Devourers filled space like a dark cloud. There were millions of them. Maybe billions. They moved together, flowing like water around the colony world. Ships that got too close were torn apart in seconds. By the stars, Zaranith whispered. Stay calm, Jake said. Remember the plan. We don't fight them all at once. He opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Morrison. Stay in formation. Wait for my signal. The Velkari fleet spread out, just as they had practiced. Small, fast ships at the front, larger capital ships behind. They did not charge forward like they usually did. The Devourers noticed them. Part of the swarm broke off and came toward the fleet. Thousands of them, moving fast. Now! Jake shouted. The fast ships opened fire and immediately turned and ran. The Devourers chased them. The fast ships led them away from the main swarm, away from the colony, right into the trap. The capital ships had positioned themselves in a wide circle. When the Devourers flew into the middle, the capital ships opened fire from all sides. The Devourers were caught in a crossfire. Thousands of them died in seconds. It is working, Admiral Voresh shouted. Don't celebrate yet, Jake warned. Here comes the next wave. More Devourers came, but this time they were more careful. They had adapted already. They moved in tighter formations, protecting each other. Switch to Plan 2, Jake ordered. The fleet broke apart. Ships scattered in every direction. The Devourers split up to chase them. That was exactly what Jake wanted. Now the fight was many small battles instead of one big one. And in small battles, skill mattered more than numbers. Lieutenant Parker screamed through space in her fighter, a Velkari pilot on each wing. Devourers chased her, but she was faster. She led them past a debris field, then spun around and opened fire. The Devourers could not turn as quickly. They crashed into the debris and exploded. All across the battlefield, Velkari ships were using Jake's tactics: ambush and retreat, hit and run, use the environment, work together. For the first time, the Velkari were winning against the Devourers. But the victory came at a cost. A Velkari cruiser was too slow to escape. The Devourers swarmed it. Jake watched helplessly as it exploded. 300 Velkari died in that moment. Keep fighting, he ordered, even as his heart broke. We can save the colony. The battle lasted for 2 hours. Finally, the Devourers began to retreat. They had lost too many. The colony was saved. Jake stood on the command deck, exhausted. Around him, the Velkari were cheering. They had done it. They had beaten the Devourers. But Jake looked at the casualty reports. 5 ships destroyed, 800 Valkyrie dead, and they had only faced a small part of the swarm. Zaranith put her hand on his shoulder. You saved the colony. You saved thousands of lives. But we lost 800, Jake said quietly. That is the nature of war, she said sadly. We cannot save everyone. We can only do our best. Jake nodded, but the weight of those deaths stayed with him. This was just the beginning. 3 months passed. The war against the Devourers spread across the galaxy. Jake's tactics were working, but the enemy was learning. They adapted to every strategy. Every victory was harder than the last. The human team had proven themselves. Lieutenant Parker was now teaching entire squadrons of Valkyrie pilots. Captain Brooks commanded a mixed force of humans and Valkyrie. Even Dr. Walsh had made breakthroughs, combining human and Valkyrie technology to create new weapons. But Jake was exhausted. He barely slept. Every day brought new battles, new decisions, new casualties. He felt the weight of every life lost. Then came the message from Earth. Jake was in a strategy meeting when Admiral Voresh burst in. Commander, you need to see this. The holographic display showed Earth's solar system, and surrounding it were Devourers. Millions of them. No, Jake whispered. They're too far. They should not be there yet. They sent a fast attack force, the Admiral explained. They are bypassing our defenses and heading straight for your homeworld. Jake felt his blood turn to ice. Katie was down there. Amy. Millions of people who had no idea what was coming. How long until they reach Earth? He asked. 4 days, the Admiral said grimly. Zaranith stood up immediately. Gather the fleet. All of it. We go to Earth now. Your Majesty, one of her advisors protested. If we take the entire fleet to Earth, the Devourers will attack our other worlds. Then we lose other worlds, Zaranith said firmly. Jake looked at her with gratitude and love. She was risking everything for Earth because of him. The journey to Earth took 3 days at maximum speed. Every ship in the Valkyrie fleet came with them. Hundreds of capital ships. Thousands of fighters. It was the largest military force the Valkyrie had ever assembled. But when they arrived at Earth, Jake's heart sank. The Devourers were already there. They surrounded the planet like a dark shell. Earth's military was fighting back. Ships and missiles and weapons that humans had built were firing desperately, but it was not enough. Nothing Earth had could stop the swarm. We are outnumbered, Admiral Voresh said quietly. Even with our full fleet. There are too many. Then we make every shot count, Jake said. He opened a channel to Earth's military command. Colonel Maya Ross appeared on the screen. She looked exhausted and terrified. Morrison, is that you? She asked. It's me, Jake said. And I brought help. We're coming in. Thank God, Colonel Ross said. We've lost half our fleet. We cannot hold them much longer. The Valkyrie fleet charged into battle. The Devourers turned to face them. The space around Earth became a massive battlefield. Jake coordinated everything from Zaranith's flagship. Human ships and Valkyrie ships fought side by side. They used every tactic Jake had taught them. But the Devourers kept coming. Lieutenant Parker led her squadron through the swarm. She had learned to think like the Devourers, to predict their movements. She saved 3 Earth destroyers in the first hour alone. Captain Brooks was on the ground in New York, coordinating evacuations. The Devourers were breaking through the atmosphere in some places. He kept people calm and moving, even as the sky burned above them. The battle raged for 12 hours. Ships exploded. Devourers died by the thousands, but more took their place. Earth's orbital platforms fell one by one. The moon's defense stations went silent. Jake was running out of options. Then Dr. Walsh called him. Jake, I found something, the scientist said quickly. The Devourers. They are all connected. There is a central intelligence controlling them. Where? Jake demanded. At the center of the swarm. A massive ship. Bigger than anything we've seen. If we destroy it, the rest will lose coordination. How do we reach it? Jake asked. There are millions of devourers protecting it. I have an idea, Dr. Walsh said, but you are not going to like it. The plan was insane. One ship would have to fly straight through the swarm. It would carry a weapon that Dr. Walsh had created, combining human nuclear technology with Valkyrie power cores. The explosion would destroy the central intelligence, but the ship would not survive. Neither would anyone on it. I will go, Zaranith said immediately. No, Jake said. I'm going. This is my world we're saving. Our world, Zaranith corrected. Jake, I will not lose you again. And I will not let you die for my planet, Jake said. They argued while the battle raged around them. Finally, Admiral Voresh interrupted. You are both too important, he said. I will take the weapon. It will be my honor. No, Jake said. Then, he had an idea. What if we do not need to sacrifice anyone? What if we can create an escape route? He explained quickly. The fleet would concentrate all its firepower on one point. They would blast a temporary hole through the swarm. One fast ship would race through, deploy the weapon, and race back out before the hole closed. It is possible, Dr. Walsh said slowly. But the timing has to be perfect. 1 second too slow, and the ship will be trapped. Then we better not be slow, Jake said. Lieutenant Parker volunteered to pilot the mission. I'm the fastest pilot here, she said. Human or Valkyrie. Jake wanted to argue, but she was right. He gave her the weapon and coordinates for the central intelligence. Come back alive, he ordered. That's the plan, sir, she said with a nervous smile. The fleet gathered. Every ship aimed at the same point. On Jake's signal, they all fired at once. The combined firepower tore a hole through the devourers. Go, Jake shouted. Parker's fighter shot forward like a missile. She flew faster than Jake thought was possible. Devourers tried to close the gap, but the fleet kept firing, keeping the hole open. Parker reached the center. Jake watched on sensors as she deployed the weapon and turned around. Get out of there, he yelled. Parker's fighter raced back. The weapon was counting down. 10 seconds. 9. 8. The devourers realized what was happening. They swarmed toward the hole, trying to close it. Keep firing, Zaranith commanded. 7. 6. 5. Parker's fighter shot through the hole. The instant she was clear, the fleet stopped firing. The hole collapsed. 4. 3. 2. 1. The explosion was like a new sun being born. It lit up the entire space around Earth. The central intelligence ship vaporized. The shock waves spread outward, destroying thousands of devourers. And then something incredible happened. The remaining devourers stopped moving. They just floated in space, motionless. Without the central intelligence to guide them, they were nothing but empty shells. The battle was over. Earth was saved. The command deck erupted in cheers. Valkyrie and humans hugged each other. Even Admiral Voresh was smiling. Jake collapsed into a chair. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had won. Zaranith knelt beside him. You saved 2 worlds today, mine and yours. We saved them, Jake corrected. The cleanup took weeks. The devourers were scattered, leaderless. Valkyrie and human forces hunted down the remaining swarms across the galaxy. It would take months, maybe years, to eliminate all of them. But the threat was broken. Jake stood in the White House, meeting with President Grant. You did something incredible, Mr. Morrison, she said. You brought us allies. You saved our planet. What do you want in return? I want Earth to join the galaxy, Jake said. Really join it. Not as junior partners, but as equals. We have something to offer. The Valkyrie learned that. Other species will too. And what about you? The president asked. Will you stay here? Be our ambassador to the stars? Jake looked out the window. He could see Zaranith's ship in orbit. She was waiting for him. I'll be an ambassador, he said. But not just Earth's ambassador. I'll be a bridge between worlds. I'll split my time between here and the Valkyrie worlds, and maybe we can build something new. A place where humans and Valkyrie and others can live together. A colony? The president asked. A new beginning, Jake said. 6 months later, Jake stood on a new world. It was not Earth, and it was not the Valkyrie homeworld. It was something in between. A planet they had chosen together. The first settlers were arriving. Humans and Valkyrie, ready to build a new society. Katie was among them, along with Amy. They wanted to be part of this adventure. It's beautiful, Katie said, looking at the alien landscape. Scary, but beautiful. That's life out here, Jake said. Beautiful and scary and worth it. Zaranith walked up beside him. She was not wearing her crown. Out here, she was not a queen. She was just Zara, his partner in building something new. Are you happy? She asked. Jake thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the loss, the pain, but also the victories, the friendships, the love. Yeah, he said. I am. He took her hand and looked up at the sky. 2 suns hung there. One yellow like Earth's, one purple like the Valkyrie homeworld. The perfect symbol of what they were trying to create. Lieutenant Parker flew overhead in her fighter, showing off for the new settlers. Captain Brooks was already organizing security for the colony. Dr. Walsh was setting up laboratories. Admiral Voresh had retired from the military to help govern the new colony. Colonel Ross had joined them from Earth. More were coming. Every day. Do you think it will work? Zaranith asked. Humans and Valkyrie living together? We work together to save the galaxy, Jake said. I think we can work together to build a home. Katie came running up with a Valkyrie child. They were playing some kind of game, laughing together. They did not see human and alien. They just saw friends. Yeah, Jake said, smiling. It's going to work. That evening, Jake and Zaranith stood on a hill overlooking the growing settlement. Ships were landing. Buildings were going up. Children were playing. Humans and Valkyrie were working side by side. I missed you so much when you left, Zaranith said quietly. I thought I would never be whole again. I felt the same way, Jake admitted. And what do we have? Jake looked at the settlement, at the 2 species working together, at Katie, laughing with her new Valkyrie friends, at the sky with its 2 suns. We have a future, he said. For all of us. Zaranith leaned against him. They stood there as the sun set, painting the sky in colors that Earth and the Valkyrie homeworld had never seen. New colors for a new world. Thank you for coming back, she whispered. Thank you for coming to get me, Jake said. Far above, the stars were coming out. Thousands of them. Millions. Each one, a sun, with planets around it. Some had life. Some had civilizations. And now, humanity was part of that great cosmic community. Jake Morrison had started as a simple military contractor. Then he became a hero to the Valkyrie. Then a savior to Earth. But here, now, he was just a man standing with the woman he loved, watching a dream become real. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The end.